the number of children living in poverty to grow. They have muzzled scientists and destroyed archives and gutted environmental protection laws. And I want us to be able to question decisions like these. And I want us to be able to do that without fear. Because fear is dangerous. It is divisive. If one neighbor cares about something and the other does not, fear will keep the first one silent and will cause the second one to see the first one as a threat. Fear will dampen the voices who are calling for a better world and will cause those who have not joined the call to turn their backs if and when those voices are forcibly silenced. Laws like this one have ushered in eras where people who fight for justice disappear, where they are whisked away in the night by secret police. We cannot let that happen here. So, you know those old movies where there's like a barn on fire and there's a river? And you have to get the water from the river and put out the fire in the barn. If you're standing looking at this blazing barn on fire and you are alone, that is a daunting task. That is a lot of trips from the river to the barn. But if you get a couple of your friends and you're like, hey, this barn is on fire, will you help me get some water? Suddenly, the job gets easier. You can form an assembly line, you can make multiple trips, and together, you can maybe save the barn. The other thing is, not only does your job get easier, not only is the task less daunting, but you have moved your friends from being bystanders who are standing in fear watching the barn burn to being active parts of the solution. So we don't need to talk to everyone this second. We just need everybody here. Look around, there are so many of you. We just need everybody here to show a couple of their friends that this bill would threaten people and things that they care about. And we can do that by coming to rallies by this, by telling people that this is happening, and by sharing the stories of the ways that this would impact everybody. So let's keep fighting this. Let's make sure that we don't criminalize the mother from a frontline Indigenous community who just wants her children to be able to drink clean water that hasn't been poisoned by the tar sands. Let's not criminalize the internet activist who just wants everybody to be able to freely use the internet. Let's not criminalize how much we care about each other and about justice. And let's let those who are deciding on this bill know that we will not be scared into silence. Bring your friends.
Something I think is really key and fundamental to how we participate in our democracy or participate in our society is this idea of where we derive collective power, and when we feel powerless, we realize that our power actually comes from our ability to act collectively, to associate with other people. And it's one of the reasons why it's such a fundamental cornerstone of being able to participate in politics is that freedom of association, and that freedom of association requires privacy. And what we've seen is across the entire political spectrum, people come forward against this legislation. And so one of the voices as part of that spectrum here, I would like to introduce to you our next speaker is Wes Regan, and he is Executive Director of one of the local business improvement areas here in Vancouver, and also the Vice President of a clean tech company. So please, Wes.
Thank you very much, Paul. I gotta admit, I'm a little nervous right now. It's intimidating to be out here with so many of you here today, and my heart's racing a little fast right now. So I'm not sure who else is watching. So I want to add a touch of levity, no matter how serious the issue is today. I want to start by acknowledging that we are on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, the Musqueam, the Salish, the Burrard, and Tsleil-Waututh. I also want to acknowledge all the effort that the BCGEU has put into laying the foundation for this National Day of Action. Thank you. They've been incredible, getting the momentum going, pulling in Lead Now, and then after that OpenMedia to make this a National Day of Action, the likes of which we haven't seen in quite a while. Now this is a nonpartisan rally, and there's power in the symbolism of this being a nonpartisan rally. There are people here from all walks of life, from all income levels, from all different perspectives. We're here because we're not just some fringe special interest group that can be cast aside by Joe Oliver. We're here because we're a broad cross-section of Canadians. We're the majority of Canadians who are very concerned about what we see happening in Ottawa. Now, the paranoia, the hyperbole, the fear-mongering that has been coming out of Ottawa, do you agree with me that the actions the Harper government has taken and some of these MPs is over the top, is absurd? It's ridiculous. So then if you agree with me, I want you to take a moment and let it all out and laugh with me in 3, 2, 1. That's right. We're laughing at you, Harper government, because of the way that you have responded in apoplectic, just completely over-the-top absurdism. And this is the tragedy, because this is a serious issue, and it really deserves a serious, genuine conversation. We are not being allowed we're not being afforded the opportunity to have that because of the hyperbole, because of the sensationalism, because of the completely over-the-top, one-sided dialogue coming out of Ottawa. We deserve better. I think the fact that there are so many people here today and across Canada is a testament to the fact that the Harper government has underestimated both the intelligence and the concern of Canadians around Bill C-51. And it has underestimated our courage to stand up here and take that stand. It has underestimated the courage of citizens, of scientists in her mid-50s who stood up on Burnaby Mountain to oppose a pipeline, even though the full weight of a multinational corporation came crashing down on her life. Or our First Nations brothers and sisters who are standing proudly on their land, denying entry to surveyors because they have not been invited, because they do not belong there. Recently, the RCMP leaked a document, or someone found it rather, and in that document it referred to us as a growing threat to national security, or Harper's agenda. Now, in that it said that we are a radical anti-petroleum movement. I think this misses the mark. I think this misses the mark and it's too narrow. I think that we're a clean air and drinkable water movement. I think that we are an honor the treaties and respect our communities movement. I think we are a fair wage and green energy movement. And above all else, I think that we are a pro-democracy movement. At a time now when this country has never needed a pro-democracy movement more. So thank you for being here today. Let's stand together moving ahead and make this a central issue. Call your friends, call your family, no matter what their political stripes, and let them know that this issue is central to our future as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wes. And Wes is one of the original people to call for this nationwide day of action. And we've I just want to give a shout out at this point to our allies at Lead Now, who have done an absolutely amazing job of mobilizing across the country in the last few weeks. And it's been incredible to see the enthusiasm, the energy, and the response they've received from people across the country. And this demonstration, the demonstrations across the country would not be possible today if it weren't for the organizing activity of Lead Now. They've got a tent over there if you want to check them out. Our next speaker is a local anti-poverty activist, Tamara Herman.
Okay, hi everyone. I want to start by acknowledging the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh people who have welcomed us onto their territory today. I'm just a community organizer, like so many of you out there, just somebody who really cares about the kind of place that we live in and the kind of place that we're building. So I want to start out by asking, how many people have ever been to a rally like this before? And how many people have been in a march that shut down a road before? And how many people have stood up in a blockade to stop a pipeline or a logging block or a deportation? And how many people have supported liberation movements in other countries and people fighting for their rights there? So if you're at all like me, you're probably wondering what this bill is going to mean for you and for the movements that we're all part of and that we're all supporting. And so we've heard today, and we've all been reading, that anything that has any threat to national security will be targeted. And by targeted, I mean we're going to be subject to increased surveillance. Our records are going to be shared among 21 government departments, and that this so-called evidence can be used against us. And we're going to be subject perhaps to preventative detentions, to no-fly zones, to no-fly lists. We're going to have our charter rights revoked, and we could even end up in a secret trial. And this is people like you, me, and our neighbors and our community members. So the problem with Bill C-51 is how vague national security is and how that's linked to terrorism. But what's national security in this country built on? It's built on 500 years of colonialism. It's built on a legacy that includes Japanese internment camps, the Chinese head tax, bans on homosexuality, and laws that would be considered ridiculously sexist today. So even though these atrocities were part of our so-called national security at one time or another, what did people do? They stood up and they fought like hell, right? And they won some of those battles. So many of the rights and so many of the movements for justice and the freedoms that we have today are built on these past struggles. And there were laws that were broken along the way. And we're here to send a clear message that that's not going to stop. And that this bill is not going to stop us from making a better world for tomorrow, too. And so, what's our national security built on today? We all know it's still built on the expropriation of Indigenous lands, racial profiling, criminalizing refugees, environmental destruction, and a growing gap between the rich and poor that's leading to an explosion in poverty that's going beyond the downtown east side into all the corners of our city. This is the Harper platform, and I want to hear how many people are going to keep fighting it regardless of what Bill C-51 means. So that's not to say that this isn't scary. Organizers across the country have been talking about what this is going to mean.